All right, let's shift the discussion now. Like I said, to matters of on the home front here. Obviously, we got to talk Epstein because things. It's fascinating because like as soon as he died, like that story just fucking disappeared.
Yeah, almost like that was the idea.
It's odd how that happened.
It's like, hey, this guy, this could be like a year-long criminal case with a bunch of discovery. What if he just died?
I mean, obviously, among gentlemen such as ourselves, obviously there's still so much going on here. But as far as like the official press recognition or following this story, they're like, oh. Well, the NFL drafts, the NFL season's coming soon. Like,
why are you bringing up old shit?
Yeah. But this has changed just this week. And I'm wondering if you could what is your take on the appearance of this guy, Michael Belden, who is a, forensic pathologist who is a sort of gadfly in the, autopsy community.
in the body cutting up.
Yeah.
So
he's like the John Gotti of autopsy
absolutely.
because it's like he's the one that everyone can name, but actual coroners.
That
guy's just a flash.
He's a flashy. He's me first flashy.
He's a hip hop style.
He's a hip hop style coroner, not a lunch pail 9 to 5 coroner.
Yeah,
but he had that show.
He is a hip hop style.
Didn't he have that show on HBO, Secrets of the Dead or something?
Yeah,
Or like it was like a bunch of
I think it was called Autopsy.
Every guy I knew who had exactly like if I was doing stats for them, they had exact medium intelligence. They were like, that's the most interesting show on TV.
So you got this guy Michael Belden, who I said is sort of a bit of a press hound for this kind of shit, and he is
the Dr. Joyce Brothers of autopsies,
and he is now giving interviews. He has been hired by Epstein's brother or his estate to do like a private examination of this, and he is now giving interviews to Fox News and other outlets, saying, based on his study of the evidence here, he would say that this points to homicide rather than suicide. I mean, no shit. This is what everyone is. We've been screaming for months now.
Yeah.
But like, what do you make? So, Brace, what do you make of him introducing this again into the public consciousness?
So it kind of throws a wrench in things because obviously, Epstein was murdered, right?
Yes.
But Michael Belden also is a fucking scumbag who is hired by Epstein's team. So like, it makes you wonder, like, oh, was he not murdered? Is this okay? But I think he was murdered, and I think that like it's one of those things where Belden is correct, but he's doing it not to get to the truth of the matter, but he's doing it to sort of obfuscate things in the courtroom. Because obviously, there are these big lawsuits against Epstein's estate, and the money kind of can't move to his brother, Mark Epstein, like it's supposed to without these being dealt with first. So I think this could just add a wrench in those proceedings. But Michael Belden is basing his opinion on the fact that a bone was broken in Epstein's neck, the hyoid bone, which is not like, that's not a bone that breaks when you do what Epstein did.
By the way, what I've heard, they said like it does happen sometimes in suicides, especially in older men. Like it's not completely like, jet fuel, steel beams.
Right, yeah.
Parody, not true.
I think
but however, case, like it is something that is almost always consistent with a homicide.
Yeah, it's like it's like a circle graph. Like not every time that bone is broken doesn't mean it was a murder. But every time there's a murder, that bone is broken, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And if both cameras outside of the cell are
you add that.
And all of the guards are asleep simultaneously.
That's the thing that I think that like, we could clear all of this up very quickly if we were just allowed to watch the hours before Epstein's death and to see if anybody came in there and said anything to him or did something to him.
We can't do that,
That is not going to happen.
The camera's broke. What do you want? It happens.
Unlucky. Bad RNG. It's bad RNG, dude. It's Battle Royale.
True.
The ping at the Manhattan Correctional Center was out of this world.
Yeah. Fucking wireless Logitech products. Always fucking shitting on me, dude. I'm done with it.
It's like everyone was they weren't supposed to be there in the first place, and then the cameras were broken, and then he hanged himself in what is like in a ward of a jail that hasn't seen a suicide for 30 years, and the last guy who killed himself was in the mob. So it's a little suspicious. And it's Michael Belden, of course, himself is I think he was famously fired as it was like something like the it was like some high up position in New York State, like a medical position, because he was giving people advice on how to get away with murder.
The one thing we didn't want him to do.
Yeah. And of course he doing a autopsy on JFK for the House Select Committee on Assassinations, which another one of those things that make you go,
Again, you have very odd, but like as an addendum to this, like you have a questionable person, clearly for what is easily discernible as odd to, suspect reasons, is reintroducing what is a factual and what honestly everyone should be talking about, the fact that he was clearly murdered in custody.
Yeah.
But like this has also inspired a new round of media takes. I'm thinking specifically of a piece I saw in Jezebel that essentially implied that like the headline was like, "Oh no, time for another nightmarish debate about whether Epstein killed himself or was murdered." And they like the new line seems to be that like, let's just stop talking about this. This debate is sort of ghoulish and cruel, and most importantly, doesn't center the victims. Like his victims are being denied sort of agency or so like some like that having this debate is somehow cruel or gauche when like his actual victims are seeking some kind of justice through, like you said, these lawsuits against his estate, which seems doubly odd to me, because if you take that line seriously, like if he was murdered, that's a very important question, because the people who fucking killed him are almost certainly the people who have victimized, abused, and probably killed other people related to this case as well. So isn't that important to kind of figure out like what's going on here? If you're concerned about bringing justice to these people?
Everybody who has said like, "Oh, don't pay attention to how he was killed, pay attention to what he did when he was alive," is they're in my black book, if you know what I mean. It's obvious that all of this is so connected. Like how he was killed, who killed him, has a very big impact on getting justice for the victims, because it will allow us to finally lock up William Jefferson Clinton. If Jeffrey Epstein was fucking strangled to death in the Manhattan Correctional Center, I believe that is pretty fucking prescient to what happens to his victims, right?
Yeah, like to think that he was killed and it had nothing to do with like other people who were involved. Like, do they think that like, someone bribed the guards, got into the correctional facility, they did all this shit to kill him, but because he was bad? Like, is that what they think? You would literally have to think that to be like, this has nothing to do with the victims.
Yeah, no, this is like Assassin's Creed or something. Like he was given this mission by a guy on the street, and he came in and just walked by Epstein and stuck him or something. It's totally ridiculous.
It was Karl Marx. He was like, to protect free elections, you have to kill this bad man, Jeffrey Epstein.
There should literally be no other news story except for Jeffrey Epstein.
This is like when we had you on, like, again, back when he was still alive to talk about this.
Yeah.
We compared it to the Mueller report. And now we have this Ukraine impeachment shit, which is like, in my opinion, way more substantive than anything that the Mueller report produced. But at the same time, I still don't give a shit, because this is the only thing I fucking care about. Like, how can you just have this out there in your consciousnmy and be obsessing over all this other shit?
No, Felix, speak.
Yeah, it's like the people who are like, my favorite posts after Epstein were like the Pod Save Network people, the crooked media people who were like, just like, well, what are you going to do? Anyway, we have our 70th emergency podcast this month about how Glenn Simpson actually heroically pointed out to the whistleblower that his email was being read by Mark Duragitz, and Teddy Ziggurat was seen with Clayton Grimshaw. And it's like, this is the thing you're obsessive about? This fucking thing?
Like,
this bullshit?
We literally have fucking Prince Andrew is like, can be arrested for raping a child. And we're fucking talking about Ukraine. Like, we can finally take out Cromwell's dream. Finally destroy the British royal family. But it's like somehow this is just like it's a conspiracy theory because it's complicated and because it's not on fucking Mad Out. Like somehow the Mueller report shit isn't a these FISA warrants or whatever aren't a conspiracy theory, but the fact that someone was killed in like actually turns out to be a pretty low security jail is just totally like out of bounds. And there is, you know, there's going to be a whole wash of articles now. In fact, I've seen a few already. Like, well, Michael Belden can't be trusted. Yeah, Michael Belden can't be trusted, but he's right. Like it's murder. I mean, I can't trust journalists either. They fucking helped do the Iraq War. But like, it's totally insane. And the thing is, some of our faves will be implicated. I want that to happen.
Right, and like
there's
no, yeah, like okay, if Michael Belden can't be trusted, like okay, so the Manhattan Correctional Facility people can. Like, no one in this can be trusted. But like, yeah, it's like the thing I've seen these like the mass media go after the past 2 days is if the Trump guy was too mean to the colonel who was on TV. Like, are you fucking kidding me? This?
But just as to the issue of the MCC and this suicide, I'd like to suggest not so much like a counterfactual, but just like, maybe I mentioned this before, but like a parallel storyline that I think makes a very compelling contrast to the idea that he committed suicide in like the most secure protection you can be in as the highest profile prisoner in American custody. Prior to all of this, like maybe even just like a month before, El Chapo Guzman was held in Brooklyn, in a similar facility in Brooklyn, and taken to a courthouse in Brooklyn where he was convicted and is now sent to like Supermax prison. Mm-hmm. And they carried out that trial where like every single time he walked into daylight, he was wearing like a bulletproof suit and probably covered by like 20 snipers because he was, up until Epstein, the most high profile person. And like so Chapo is a guy, not only he's escaped from jail twice, right?
He's
he's responsible for the deaths of like countless prosecutors, police, and law enforcement people in Mexico. So there's like always obviously we're very careful about like the idea that he could be broken out or there could be some sort of attack on the trial itself. But further than that, if you're a guy facing life in Supermax prison, you pretty much have like every reason to pretty much kill yourself, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And if he had killed himself in custody, that would have been such a defeat for like the entire weight of like the U.S. prosecutorial apparatus that it would be like unthinkable
like
that they could allow that to happen
before they could hang him.
Exactly. Like if they want you to breathe every second of your life in a fucking box because that's like your punishment and that's the power that they have as the state, you're telling me that like they can't absolutely make sure that you live to experience every second of your punishment. This was happening basically parallel to the Epstein thing. And then and he's just like, oh, he just killed himself in jail. Oops.
Oh, well.
I was talking about this with Catherine last night, the El Chapo connection, and just this contrast here being so vivid. And I just like to say, just for the listeners, you can do this too if you have an acute ep-pilled GF.
It's the thing is about Epstein's suicide too, is I have been in jail, and I actually have like had a close friend of mine was in solitary in jail where things are a little bit different. You know, you have even thinner sheets, etc. It's killing yourself with one of these fucking sheets is so hard. Like these things are basically paper. You can rip them. And like the fact that they're saying Epstein hung his like he like hung himself from the top bunk and like leaned forward and snapped
with force. With force. He leaned forward with force.
Yeah, it's just totally so out of the bounds of reality that like that should be the fucking conspiracy theory. The fact that they're saying that somebody can kill themselves with a sheet that's like thinner, it's like a millimeter fucking thick.
I mean,
it's not like you get 50 of these sheets. He was having a blast in jail, dude. His lawyers were bringing him hot. Think about this. Epstein had more sex in the Manhattan Correctional Center than statistically most listeners of Chapo Trap House have had in their entire lives. His lawyers would bring him girls to have sex with. And he was in high spirits. The last time he saw his lawyers, he said, "I'll see you Sunday." And we're supposed to believe that he just went back to his cell, got so despondent because he can only read trashy airport bookstore literature there instead of the, Gouda and all these other things I'm sure he was used to reading in his mansion. And he fucking killed himself by leaning forward.
He was also
Insane.
in the week leading up to his death, paying off women to not testify against him. He was dispersing payments to keep them quiet. Why would you do that? Why would you bother with that?
Do that?
And everyone who says
people give away their belongings before they commit suicide.
But the one that gets me is just a lot of people say like, this guy is like this alpha sex maniac. He can't bear the thought of being, in jail. It's like maybe after he's convicted, I might buy that. If he gets like all the tricks up his sleeve don't work. He can't swing a deal and he gets a real like life sentence. I could see him killing himself then. But they hadn't even fucking tried him yet.
And all his
selected the jury.
And all his previous interactions with, the criminal justice system would have proven to him by now.
Well for him.
Look,
here's the thing. This is a man, as we found out about the Zorro Rant stuff, who wanted his penis and head frozen.
Yes.
So presumably they could be attached to some sort of
fuckbot.
horrible robot later when technology
a post-apocalyptic fuckbot. Yes.
That is
exactly. And he spent all this money, all this time, all this research. Like he was, it appears that he was basically dedicating like a good chunk of his life to this sort of life extension, this transhumanist stuff, and then he just kills himself in jail and lets his body sit there for hours while his penis, I'm sure, degrades. His egg-shaped penis, by the way. And then, of course, someone catches just a glimpse of him on camera being brought into the medical examiners, and nothing else.
I gotta say, the thing about him wanting to save his penis really proves that he's a complete psychopath. Because
Absolutely.
if you have a trash dick like that, like an awful egg dick.
Absolute
And you're
garbage.
imagining some future where you're in a robot body and you get to fuck forever. Wouldn't you want like the highest end robot penis to replace your shitty trapezoid dick? Instead, he's like, "No, man, I'm sticking with this thing. This got me this far."
That's the most darkly funny thing about Epstein is how fucking stupid he was.
He was a moron.
Yeah.
Like he was obviously
Totally.
involved in this like international intelligence blackmail scheme, like the types that's existed for a while, but like as a guy, he was just a fucking idiot. Like, like I know that a lot of this is like influence peddling, but like the idea of him just being like, "Yo, I'm gonna get all the science guys to come to my house, and they're gonna tell me how to get pussy."
Yeah.
Like, he was a
He got
fucking
Stephen
dolt.
Hawking on a submarine, man. Like, don't do that unless like you think there's like a 20% chance that you can fuck a girl in the year 2075.
Yo, I'm gonna get Steven Pinker over here, and we're just gonna vibe, and he's gonna tell me how to basically be immortal.
one of my favorite things that's happened since then is that because of this case now, one of my favorite things to do whenever you see some totally obnoxious, just evil person on Twitter sharing their idiot opinions like Larry Summers or Steven Pinker or Bill Gates, just reply to them always with one of the dozens of pictures of them and Jeffrey Epstein
what I was doing.
having fun together. And I've noticed that when you start doing that, like to Steven Pinker especially, like a lot of like the IDW people or people who love smart people get very angry about that. And what they say is like, "Oh, Stephen Hawking went to Epstein Island too. You telling me he was abusing women?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
Absolutely.
sure, dude. Yeah."
Didn't his wife divorce him?
He cheated on his wife with his nurse
That up.
in his chair. He was able to cheat on his
It's
wife
just like-
in the chair.
Again, to Chapo listeners, these guys are getting more pussy than you. I'm sorry. Even Stephen Hawking. It is so like somebody who is so obsessed with something, so especially so obsessed with life extension, to do this is just beyond the realm of possibility.
Not when you have cards to play. That's the thing. He had cards to play still.
Right, and people say like
He had basically unlimited funds, and as we know, if you have money, it is a different justice system.
Yes.
Even if the fucking media is on you. OJ got.
Yeah.
right, and like people were like, "Oh, but it would like he got a sweetheart deal last time, and it would be different this time because of the media circus." It's like, you want to fucking bet? I mean, like, look how quick the news cycle moves now. Like if they would like, I'm guessing what they would have done is just drag this out for like 2 years, which is entirely possible if you have unlimited funds. And lo
Absolutely.
and behold, people fucking forget. They do
And
it
the
all the
thing is,
time.
if he could drag this court case out forever, which I'm sure was and now even after his death still is the plan, he could still have sex 3 times a day, which was what the thing that his life, besides of course being a high value intelligence asset, was devoted to. So like, there's no, why kill himself because he doesn't have luxury?
Because
He
the,
can buy
the
everything.
food was terrible.
Here,
Yeah.
okay. There's 2 more. I guess we're going to go long on this, but there's 2 more threads that I need to bring up with you. The first of which is, where in the world is Ghislaine Maxwell?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: as these civil suits go on, there are attorneys representing the victims who basically have subpoenaed Ghislaine because she is a probably second only to him, like the most integral figure to this entire criminal enterprise, right? They have said now that like literally they don't know where to serve it. Like there was
a claim. Apparently Interpol's looking for her, and there was a thing a couple weeks ago claiming that they had triangulated her cell phone to a resort in Brazil, but nothing has come of that. Nothing has come of that.
Okay, so like just back up for a second though. A while ago, we all know for a fact, like up until about 2015, Ghislaine Maxwell was photographed. If you just search like the Getty archives,
Oh my
her
God,
name,
everyone.
she was photographed basically
Everybody.
at every single high profile, like the any party being held in Silicon Valley, Hollywood, or DC, of like the heights
And Manhattan, of course.
and Manhattan, and like the heights of like every sector of like power and influence in this country. She was at every party being photographed with everyone. Famously at Chelsea Clinton's wedding, there's that photo of her. She had an aisle seat at the wedding, such that when Chelsea was walking down the aisle to her beautiful, ugly Phil son husband, she was sticking her head out, and it was just like a line of people, and then just her head poking out. Then drops off the radar entirely, is not photographed or seen at any sort of society event for like 4 years. Then after the death, there's a story about how she's been held up in Manchester by the Sea, yes, the film and the town in New Hampshire, with this Silicon Valley type. That's the only like thing that we hear. Then days later, we get the photo of her at In-N-Out Burger reading a book called The Life and Death of CIA Agents,
And
which was exposed as a total fabrication
It was a fake
within about
photograph.
24 hours of it happening, and then never heard another word about it.
Yep.
Not a word.
Yeah, she's supposed to be in Brazil, but nobody's served her. Nobody's seen her there. And if she's at a resort, some fucking busboy or some waiter or somebody would have taken a picture of her. This horseshit.
Absolutely.
She does not have she's rich, but she does not have the resources to disappear like that unless somebody is helping her do it, or she's dead, which is my bet, honestly.
It's kind of funny. Her sister actually, or her sisters who are twins, actually came up with this software called Kiliad, which the FBI uses, which is a way to sort of, let's say, coordinate like suspects' profiles across systems. So presumably she has a couple of inside men on that.
And of course, there's the story about the day after the photo was released. The customs network at all American airports went down.
All went out.
Unlucky. Dude, there's so much bad luck around this case.
And that means everybody had to do it by hand, which meant nobody could like authenticate the documents using any of the computer programs.
Yeah, she is. So she is said to be in Brazil along with Jean-Luc Brunel, who is this just like lifelong rapist, allegedly.
Monster,
Well, actually,
absolute scumbag.
a total monster who is a modeling, quote unquote, modeling agency like director and talent. Later in his life, just became exclusively a talent scout in Brazil. And there's actually testimony in the that emerged where I think it was Epstein's like houseman or something, like his butler, was talking about how Jean-Luc Brunel was always on the phone getting girls from Brazil. So he has a network down there, and when it emerged that Ghislaine was down there, it emerged that Brunel was down there. So my theory on that is either they are trying quickly to have a baby that will become some sort of like pedophile super baby that will eventually like emerge and repopulate the earth with all these horrible pedophiles, or they are both just dead, which sounds correct to me. Like
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever see them again.
I tweeted this, and I really think it's true. She is either in one of those doomsday bunkers that billionaires are building in New Zealand, or she's part of the foundation of one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, they're using her fucking skull as a goblin somewhere down there, and it's the fact that like she was able to maybe slip out of the country, maybe she had already slipped out of the country without anybody noticing whatsoever. I mean, she was all over the news and at airport. I assume one person would be like, "Oh, that's the famous pedophile lady that's like on the front page of every newspaper."
Yes.
But nobody did.
No, but not a single mention.
Well, because it's like it's interesting.
Like, every time I go through an airport, I get stopped for a long fucking time, and this lady can go through.
Well, I mean, it's like I said, the fact that she was photographed at like every single society party, and like the interesting thing is, despite being one of the most visible people in the world, she's like not like her photo ever showed up on like Us Weekly because like the punters buying it, they would like, who's this person standing next to Bill Clinton or Elon Musk or whatever, right?
Plus, she's busted.
But everybody in that world clearly knew who she was, and she was always like, again, wrangled an invitation to Chelsea Clinton's wedding. I mean, think about the circles you have to be in to get an aisle seat at that fucking wedding. Okay, so then and then she just fucking disappears for like 4 years, and then now nobody knows where she is. And I'm sorry, like, is there any news outlet or journalist looking into this question at all?
I mean, I have every single day I think about quitting an anchor and just fucking going down there. Because she's either in Brazil or there's rumors that she was in Thailand with Brunel as well, and just cutting my way through the jungle to find the place where her body is buried, because she's out there. Like I know she's out there. Either her body or her living soul is out there, and I must find her and keep her safe. But yeah, she will never appear on a fucking witness stand. She will never we'll never hear another peep from her. If she somehow is alive, she is just going to be in another country forever, totally silent.
See, that's the thing for me that really clinches the narrative here. Not only do you have all the ridiculous coincidences going around with Epstein's suicide, all of those just stacked up things that make it impossible to know what happened. Oops. You have the fact that this person disappears. Because I remember when it came out that, oh, she's hanging out with this billionaire in Massachusetts, I remember thinking, oh, fuck, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got too carried away with this thing. But then there was a photoshopped goddamn photograph, and then she disappeared completely. I'm like, okay, never mind.
Not even a particularly well done.
No, that's the thing that's so baffling about it, because it clearly was not invented.
Like within a day.
It was clearly not designed to actually fool anyone for any length of time. It was some sort of either message or just buying literally a day. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This gets me to my the second and last thing that I need to bring up here. Matt, you mentioned about like the fact that it was such a poorly done like stitch up of like the movie ad wasn't right for that time or place. It was like so clearly fabricated.
There were artifacts all in it.
Yeah,
It
and
looked
like it just like, and it makes you wonder like, okay, well, like who's this? So obviously it's not to fool anyone.
Yeah.
But like you and I are not like the received audience for whatever message was being conveyed there, and the fact of the book that she was reading that was clearly visible, another huge tell here.
Josh, well, no, actually the book wasn't visible.
Oh, was
That's
it?
the thing. No, it was only reported at first, quote unquote, reported by a witness, and then it turns out it was just reported by her lawyer that the book was about heroes or dead heroes or something of the CIA.
I mean,
So,
she runs a book club. People want to know Ghislane's reading group. What she's on about. Okay, so keep that in mind. Which brings me to my next digression here. Kevin Spacey. You remember at the end of last year when he released that video as Frank Underwood, again, like in character.
Yes.
As his character from House of Cards, where he addresses the camera like this bizarre monologue that when it happened at the end of last year, I was just like, this has blown out everything that's happened in 2018 before. Like, this is the most insane thing that will happen. Like my jaw was open, bleary eyed.
It was I
was like, this is a madman. Like this, why would he do this? Who around him is like, yeah, Kevin, this is a great idea. Get in character as Frank Underwood and like inveigh vaguely about like, the conspiracies against you. And add to that, the coffee mug with Queen Elizabeth's coronation,
Yes.
which was clearly visible in that video. Again, you asked yourself back then, this makes absolutely no sense. This is the most insane thing I have ever seen. He is completely cracked. Looking at it now,
it was a fucking warning.
looking at it
was a
now,
warning.
it begins to take on a much different, more. There is a evil and sinister, but clearly logical, rational reason to do this. If you look about it through this light, that you and I, that just the video released publicly, we're not the audience for this video.
No,
So consider
yeah.
the fact that he is essentially playing the character that he did on House of Cards. Again, Catherine and I were talking about this last night, and I guess I had never really considered it. Consider the parallels between Frank Underwood and his wife and Bill and Hillary Clinton. Frank Underwood is a Southern Democrat who sort of governs from the center right of his party, who is sort of this covetous of power and this kind of Machiavellian political figure. That there are these parallels that are clearly on the surface pseudo based on Bill Clinton and Hillary.
Mm-hmm.
Then you add to that the very, very close relationship that Kevin Spacey had with Bill Clinton post-presidency and the Clinton Foundation. And then add on top of that the veiled threat to the royal family, i.e. Prince Andrew and that coffee cup. And what do you begin to think takes shape with regards to Kevin Spacey? And now we know one of his accusers in one of the trials that he was on, dead. The other pleaded the fifth on the stand and tanked the entire trial.
Amazing.
And now he's free and clear. He's in Serbia. He's hanging out in Serbia right now.
He's
and
in
has been
Serbia?
for months.
Yeah.
Recently, yeah.
Oh my god, that is fucking spook city, Serbia.
Oh, yeah.
No shit. So someone may have made him go there.
So Kevin Spacey went from being oh my God, this guy, his crimes have been exposed. There is numerous criminal lawsuits.
He's just a deluded maniac.
He's a totally deluded maniac. This guy is crashing and burning. Months later, he's off scot-free.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Brace, what do you think, again, I'm heavily implying here, but what begins to take shape when you think about this now?
So the Let Me Be Frank video caused shockwave. I mean, I still watch it about once a month. It is the most psychotic thing I've ever seen him do, unless you consider that, yes, that mug at the end, because it's everything in that video is you don't just pick that mug, right? There's not a lot of things to look at in the video, and the mug is one of the few things that your eyes are drawn to, especially at the end where he takes this sort of purposeful sip of it. He toured a private tour of the Royal Palace in, I think, 2015, and breaking all protocol, which they take seriously there because they don't have much else. He sat in the Queen's coronation chair. So it's either he could be saying a number of things, but we also must keep in mind that, of course, he flew in the Lolita Express alongside one William Jefferson Clinton, Jeffrey Edward Epstein, and for some reason Chris Tucker.
Oh, that'll never not be funny. That'll never not be funny.
There's
That's the one fucking Rush Hour guy.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
That's just the perfect touch to know that you're living in the DMT death dream of a country.
But it, again, shows how dumb, that Epstein was truly stupid, because it's he got all the business and political leaders he needed to complete his task, his role in the world. But he was also yo, Rush Hour was some funny ass shit. Yo, so are you still friends with Jackie Chan or what?
So it's I think it's a warning to the royal message or to the royal family, or a message to the royal family. And it could mean two things. It could mean that things are about to come, the House of Cards is about to come tumbling down. Or it means you better kill Jeffrey Epstein. So I can be coronated as ultimate pedophile in the United States.
There could be only one.
It's so interesting because all attention basically has dropped from Spacey, and in fact he's back. There was just a video of him performing some poem at some fancy society gathering in Greece with all these hoity-toity types. I think Kevin Spacey is going to reemerge. But everybody else involved in this is it's not necessarily going down, because these people kind of can't go down, or at least no one has. There's a lot of people with an interest of that they don't go down. But everybody else has been sort of tainted by this. Like, Clinton is, Prince Andrew is, but Kevin Spacey, he's just sipping the tea.
Literally.
Because they came for him, it didn't work, and now they're coming for the royal family. They're coming for Epstein, and it is going to work. Well, it's also not going to work. To be honest about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a symbol, because there's no way that he thought he was going to get his fucking show back. Like,
Yeah.
It's just like he becomes like one of those guys who's like, bring Firefly back.
I was out there in Times Square. I was counter protesting the OA guys. I was dancing to bring back House of Cards with Kevin Spacey, totally alone. The only thing that kept me going was that Gandhi quote. First they laugh at you, then you have Francis the House Cards back. So do you like silver lining? Maybe we try not to end on like total pessimism. Will Kevin Spacey be in a movie filmed in Serbia with Steven Seagal?
Oh God, fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
Let's do
Serbian
it.
film too.
Yeah.
I guess like
his whole life has been yeah.
Yeah.
oh my god. Yeah.
Oh my God! What if they sent Seagal to kill Epstein? They're like, all right, you can finally be of some use to us. And he went in there, somehow found a way to sit down. That's why Epstein was hung from the bed, because it was the only way Seagal could sit down. And he was like, your family hates you. And Epstein's last words were like, why are you making that voice? And he just fucking died.
My theory about Jeffrey Epstein, either death or disappearance, is this is my pet theory, is that his good friends, David Blaine and David Copperfield, the magicians, were able to one was in charge of the cameras, and the other was either in charge of taking out Epstein or disappearing him. I mean, these guys,
And by the way,
made the Statue of Liberty disappear.
By the way,
They can make Epstein disappear.
like pretty much all magicians, but Copperfield and David Blaine especially.
Yeah.
I will say, allegedly, many allegations of them being complete rape monsters.
No, wait.
Oh,
But, no.
I can't remember. I think David Blaine has a rape island.
Yeah.
Copperfield has a rape on.
Oh, yeah.
Copperfield has a rape island. Yeah.
You know who's like, I've never seen a bad word said about him? The Mind Freak.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
No,
no.
no accusations against Chris Angel or Doug Henning. He was a good guy.
Yes,
I-
Gentle
I-
Canadian soul.
The only good one, the amazing Jonathan, was going to blow the whistle on all these guys.
Then they gave him the heart attack.
But yeah, we got to put. I mean, I hate sort of put a damper. I know witches are often persecuted around Halloween. With people doing green face, etc. But we really got to put a stop in magic business until we can either figure out a counter for magic, which is possibly some sort of armor made out of steam, etc., or we can just throw all the witches in some sort of prison, put them in Idlib.
Okay, this is just like one final thing, like to wrap this up. I know you must have seen recently Hillary and Chelsea Clinton being on sort of a media tour to promote their latest children's book, which is about brave women.
Yes. Yeah.
I know one really brave woman. No one can find her right now.
Like, they made the rounds of like, the morning shows or whatever. And then again, of course, because the primary was going on, a lot of people were, being like, oh, like Hillary Clinton's booking all these media appearances. Is she going to jump in? Blah, blah, blah. Which, who cares? I am, of course, fingers crossed, extremely rooting for her to do just that.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah,
my broader question is, you've got a Bill just did a video about suicide awareness. Very, very funny. But
That was so good for my engagement stats.
People love doing suicide. Everyone's aware of suicide. Like, everyone I know wants to do it. Certainly, if I was about to kill myself, I log Twitter to look at all the people who make me want to kill myself, and I see fucking Bill Clinton, I'm immediately taking fentanyl.
Bill Clinton just shows up on a Facebook video and he's like, I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. I would understand. No,
It's the best bullshit celebrity cause. Just awareness of mental health. It's the best one.
And I was gonna say, Bill Clinton, he has scaled back.
Oh yeah.
And it's largely also due to the fact that he looks like a corpse now.
The adrenochrome connect got
That's the
shut
plug.
off. Yeah,
They ran off on the plug.
Same thing with Biden. That's why his brain is melting.
No, I have
plug.
I have a theory about Biden. I think so. Biden, like you would think he would be implicated in this. Like he fits the profile of every powerful Democratic politician who would be, but he's not. And I think I know why.
Why?
Biden thought Epstein was gay. Epstein went up to Biden and was like, he's like gave his idiot spiel. He's like, can I interest you? Some rules are meant to be broken. And he's like, who's the queer Jewish fellow with all the daughters?
He's like, I really respect you, man.
Yeah.
He's like, that's really cool that you're doing that. You're open about it.
Yeah, man,
It's not my bag, but good. God bless you,
man. I'm so glad guys like you. They didn't even let you used to get on airplanes. Now you got your own, man.
To tie it all together, like Bill has scaled back his public profile, but Hillary and fucking Chelsea, like Hillary Clinton especially, still out there, fucking like no fucking difference. Just
And Chelsea was the best of all of them. Chelsea had the closest relationship with Gizlane Maxwell.
Yes.
So again, like here's the question that I slam my fucking head into a wall every time it comes up. Why is anyone whose name is Clinton or even tangentially associated with their political machine or their foundation allowed to go on TV and the first question they're asked is not about Jeffrey Epstein?
Seriously?
Because it's like all the people that run these news channels are also like depraved rapists.
It's kind of
So
true.
like if they ask him about Jeffrey Epstein, someone will be ask them about either their own connection to Jeffrey Epstein or like the I'm sure countless rapes they've committed with female journalists. I mean, if the past couple of years have been any indication, all the people like CNN, NBC,
Matt Lauer,
are just
Redstone,
total fucking sickos.
Yeah, it's some
So
mutually
like, once
assured
you get a
discussion.
certain amount of money, if you were inclined to be a sicko like naturally, there's like it's God does like a chance roll or something, and if you get like a 6 or above, you just become an absolute like vile piece of shit.
And even if you don't naturally incline towards being a sicko, wealth disconnects you from humanity and makes you less empathetic, more of a sociopath. And 2, they're going to make you do it so they know you're cool. Like
exactly. There's a lot of people that talk about like blah blah blah. Like it is. I mean, a cabal is just a collection of people who do weird shit, and like it's obviously rich people. Like poor people bond by like cutting coupons or like following sort of bogus health pages on Facebook, and rich people bond by just the merciless like depraved exploitation of young girls or young boys sometimes.
Whatever they like.
I think people all my coworkers talk about Epstein all the time. Like the people remember Epstein, but like the media has just immediately moved on. And for some reason people have this still like vestigial trust in like the New York Times or CNN or something, just because either the president hates it or because they don't like really know what else to turn to. But like those people are all implicated in one way or another, whether it's the sexual angle or whether it's the intelligence. They're all on the same side, and it's not your side.
Got to get rid of these rich people, man.
Well, I mean, yeah, like when we talked about this with you and Liz, I mean, I think like the real like what is the resolution to any of this? Like how can it be fixed or changed? Like the answer is like there is no resolution, or there won't be any like justice or tidy or anything satisfying publicly that will come of this. But if you want to fix it, just take away these people's money.
Yeah.
Like just take away the wealth of everyone, and there would be like less. There wouldn't be as much of this shit. They couldn't do
You
it.
can't buy an island without the money.
Rape island if you don't have the island.
Yeah.
You got to have the money.
So like when Bernie says like there shouldn't be billionaires, like that's the obvious like next thing. If you make it a fucking campaign issue, there shouldn't be billionaires. There shouldn't be rape islands.
Yeah.
Like you can't have both.
Yeah, like exactly, and one does.
You can't
lead
have
to
one without
other.
the other. Yeah.
Exactly. Like it's 100% agreed. Like and also I think Bernie is one of the few people not connected to the cabal.
It's true. I really do believe that, even if that makes me a sucker. I know why he doesn't, but God, I really wish he would come out and say, when I'm president, I am announcing a independent counsel to investigate the Epstein murder case.
When I met him, I was like, there was like a moment I had where I could have been like, Bernie, tell me about Jeffrey. And I fucking blew it. I was like, your labor plan's really good. He's like, thank you. I should have been like, can you investigate Hillary Clinton for eating a child?
All right.